Vegapunk has revealed there's an ancient energy source that he's trying to get a hold of. Fans have speculated this energy source is dreams, sun god Nika, joy boy, devil fruits, Lunarian fire, and every other silly option in the book. But today I promise to prove to you why the ancient energy source Vegapunk is talking about is electricity. Like, haven't you noticed that nothing on the blue planet is powered by electricity? We literally had to go to an ancient city on the moon to see mechanical soldiers powered by electricity. And those little guys are foreshadowing the mechanical soldier on Egghead being powered by electricity. And that isn't even half of this theory video today, because I have a mountain pile of concrete evidence that I have not yet revealed. So basically, Enel's gonna return to the story to enlighten Vegapunk on why it's a complete no-brainer that the ancient energy of the One Piece world is electricity. But before we jump into that, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to never miss the best One Piece theory videos on YouTube. To start off, chapter 1062. This is the chapter we see holograms on Egghead, and come to find out they are made of light. Now this was misconstrued and misunderstood by a lot of fans as they think it was electricity, but no, it's made out of light, just like some of the powers that the pacifistas have. And this has me thinking, like, wait, why is there no electronics on the blue planet? Not a single one. Like in Water 7, we see that all their machinery is powered by water. We see that the steam train is powered by steam. We see windmills powered by wind. Hell, we even see machinery in Marijua powered by humans. And we could take this a step further. Frankie, the cyborg of the Straw Hats, is literally powered by cola. What a literal joke. Everything in the One Piece blue planet world is powered by everything except electronics, except electricity. So let's keep that detail in mind. Let's hang on to that for a second. Now moving on to a different topic, Noland. Now this was a famous pirate. He sailed from island to island. He was pretty much a doctor writing a legendary tale. One fact we know about Noland is in his journal, he said it was the year 1120. Now keep that in mind. That was 400 years ago. Noland lived 400 years ago. So adding 1120 plus 400, you get 1520. But also remember, we're in the post time skip 2 years later. So therefore, doing all the math, the current One Piece world is in the year 1522. Now comparing this to real life, there was no electronics, there was no electricity prior to the late 1800s. So if we compare the One Piece world being in the 1500s to our real world, it makes sense why nothing on the blue planet is powered by electricity. And we could take this a step further. All of the pirates in the One Piece world are based off of 17th century pirates. But remember, electric engineering wasn't until the 1800s. So the world of One Piece, at least the blue planet, does not have access to electricity. That is abundantly undeniable. Now moving on to chapter 1065, we make it to Egghead. We're in the labo phase. We're in the factories of Egghead. Come to find out, Lilith literally tells us that Egghead Island is built off of fire. It uses fire as an energy source. Fire is a major energy source in the One Piece world, and they even use it to light things up. Think about every chandelier, every candle in the One Piece world. They were lit up via fire, not electricity. Again, there's not a single place on the blue planet that uses electricity. So what the world of One Piece needs to go through and experience is electric engineering. This will make factories better. This will make gathering resources easier. They need electricity, meaning using fire as an energy source is a thing of the past. They need to move on to electricity. Moving on, in chapter 1065, Shaka says that the giant robot is 900 years old. We know that the giant robot on Egghead isn't the only robot in the One Piece world, because on the moon we see robots all around land. Not only that, but Oda said that Enel went to an ancient city and he also found hieroglyphics. It seems like Oda is painting a connection from the robots on the moon to the robot on Egghead Island. They look the same, they act the same. I would even go as far as to say that the giant robot on Egghead used to be the leader of the robots on the moon. And later on in chapter 1066, Luffy says that there's no place to ride inside the robot. That makes perfect sense. Again, think about the robots on the moon. Those little guys could have fit little dwarves in them to control them, but that wasn't the case. Professor Tsukimi operated on them and they were just basic regular robots. So seeing how the giant robot in Egghead doesn't have a compartment for someone to control him, you can't say robots in the One Piece world are used as armor. They are their own entity, which is further proving that the giant robot on Egghead is deeply connected to the robots on the moon. And the very next chapter is when Vegapunk starts talking about Punk Records. He says he wants to create something that everyone has access to and has unlimited information. I'm glad a lot of fans picked up on this, but it seems like Vegapunk wants to create the internet. Now again, the One Piece world is based off 17th century pirates, and according to Noland's logbook, the current year in One Piece is 1522. So taking those two items and comparing it to the real world, we know that in the 1500s or 1700s, we did not have the World Wide Web, which again further explains why Vegapunk needs electricity. But we're gonna take this even further. I'm about to leave you completely mind blown. You're gonna drop a like on this video. Now remember, in the past, Noland said his year was 1120. We add 400 to that because it was 400 years ago. And then you add another 2 for the post-time skip of One Piece. So therefore, post-time skip One Piece is in the year 1522. But you know how they say that Vegapunk is 500 years advanced? If you add 1522 to 500, you get the year 2022, the year that Vegapunk was revealed in the manga. I'm completely mind blown. Vegapunk is living in 2022. But anyways, regardless, we know that the World Wide Web, the internet, is powered by electricity. Vegapunk's not going to be able to create the World Wide Web without electricity. That same chapter in 1067, Vegapunk says that the Iron Giant was ordered to be taken down and destroyed. And we know this because it went to Marijua and it attacked Marijua. But we have to ask, why would that happen? Again, the answers lie in Enel's cover story. When Enel finds a mechanical soldier on the ground on the moon, he shocks it with electricity and it boots back up. Not only that, but it went to the battlefield and continued fighting. So I believe in the past, someone with the Goro Goro no Mi or electricity powered up that robot and it continued doing its task like the robot on the moon. But then we have to ask ourselves, why would he go to Marijua? Why did he boot back up and start fighting? He used to fight in Marijua for the Void Century. Now, one other cool detail I noticed about the giant robot on Egghead is there's some kind of spear in him that probably defeated him. Now, again, bringing up Enel's cover story, we know that one of the mechanical soldiers on the moon was stabbed in the same place and had a long rod sticking through him. I believe this is Oda's way of foreshadowing what happened. A space pirate tried to kill the robot on the moon, like how a space pirate tried to kill the robot at Marijua. Now, later on in chapter 1067, they say that the giant robot is referred to as a mechanical soldier. Again, this is so abundantly clear. All those robots on the moon are soldiers. Look at their designs. Have you ever wondered why they wear that kind of gear, why they wear those kinds of outfits? It's because they're all soldiers. You have a Russian soldier, Japanese soldier, American soldier, and a gladiator. These are mechanical soldiers. So again, those little robots on the moon are connected to the big robot on Egghead. Also in chapter 1067, they say that the energy source would be a dynamic source. This one's kind of self-explanatory. Just do your research. Electricity is a dynamic power source. You have dynamic electricity. This one's self-explanatory. It fits the niche of a dynamic power source. Now, to all the people who say that ancient energy source is dreams, wills, desires, joy boy, whatever, explain to me how that is a dynamic power source. I bet you didn't take that into account, but I have to. I don't believe in cognitive bias. The very next chapter, 1068, Vegapunk says he needs this ancient energy source. Now again, we're concluding that it must be electricity. So let's look at Enel. Did you know that Enel's name is based on Ener or Eneru, which is a pun on the word energy? Yeah, electricity, Enel. That's the ancient energy, folks. And like we said, there's no electricity on the blue planets. The only time we saw that was on the moon. And Oda even called the location an ancient city and said that electricity is an energy. It's so abundantly clear that the ancient energy is electricity. Now let's look at Enel as a character and let's see if there's any metaphors or symbolism in his character. Well, we know that Enel is an electric man and he hates Shandora. Looking at Shandora, what does it mean? Where does it come from? Shandora is a pun on the word chandelier or candle. What are those powered by in the One Piece world? Flames, fire. So now when you take a look at the electricity man Enel and seeing how he's trying to surpass and extinguish the flame of Shandora, chandelier, it makes sense why the One Piece world's gonna move from flames to electricity. That's why Oda says phrases like light of Shandora or flame of Shandora. Now, one interesting fact about Enel is he found his devil fruit 6 years before the One Piece story. And we know that on the moon they use electric technology. So I hypothesized that there was a man on the moon using Enel's fruit and he thought he was God. But he had to leave the moon because they were lacking natural resources and he ended up in the Sky Islands. That's where he died and that's how Enel found the fruit. And speaking about his use of electricity, what else did Enel use electricity for? The Arc Maxim. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he had the blueprints for the Arc Maxim and he spent years trying to build it. But regardless, there's an interesting detail I noticed about the Arc Maxim that I've never seen anyone point out. And I noticed this years ago. On the Arc Maxim, they have the world government logo on it. Why does this electronic machine have the world government logo on it? Explain that to me. Unless they were using electronics in the Void Century and had to wipe it out from mankind. Like, doesn't this seem so poetic? The world government is on this electronic ship. He goes to the moon, finds mechanical soldiers, sees hieroglyphics, gets a robot army, and possibly comes back down from the moon. Is Enel gonna come down from the moon with a robot army? Maybe if that happens, we could see Luffy versus Enel 2.0. And I know that sounds wacky and wild, but you gotta hear me out. There's too many ties between electricity electricity and the ancient energy Vegapunk was talking about. There's way too many. So if Vegapunk is gonna discover this energy source and he's gonna harness it, I think the best way to do it is by having Enel return to the story. Now I can't exactly tell you why he's gonna go to Egghead or how that's gonna happen. I don't think you can necessarily prove that. Like imagine the scenario, there's like a big explosion on Egghead and there's like a shadowy figure, the chapter ends and boom, the next chapter, Enel's here. And Enel will use electricity. That's how Vegapunk will discover the ancient energy source, and that will power up the Iron Giant that we already saw. But anyways, moving on, in chapter 1068, Vegapunk says that the world is brimming with this energy, and we can see that his face is very bright. This is symbolism for electricity. We all know what light bulbs are. We all know that lightning strikes are very bright. Just look at the island of Skypiea. All throughout the Skypiea arc, when Enel was doing thunder strikes, it got very bright, and that's how Vegapunk's face is lighting up. This is Oda's way of hinting that the energy is something bright. This is a literal way of foreshadowing and hinting. So in this context, not only does electricity fit in a literal sense, but also a metaphorical sense. That same chapter, they say the machine soldiers powered by this energy source. Again, comparing the giant robot on Egghead to the robots on the moon, we know that those guys were powered by electricity. So I hypothesize that electricity is gonna boot up the big robot that is on Egghead. Even later on, Lilith mentions how she needs an undying flame for the sun of Egghead. Now let's look at this from a metaphorical lens. They need a sun, they need a battery to power the islands. They can't use fire forever. So a comparison I'm gonna make is what Enel did on the moon. When Enel got to the moon and he was powering up the robots and powering up the city, he lit up a light bulb that looks like the sun. So therefore, the energy he used on the moon, which is electricity, powered the sun of the moon. This is all about metaphors and reading in between the lines. Remember, Vegapunk doesn't know what electricity is. Later in 1068, Vegapunk's saying he dug too deep into the past, and he was referring to the ancient energy source. So it seems like in the Void Century, they had electronic technology and they wiped it from the planet. But seeing how there's an ancient city on the moon and their technology is powered by an energy called electricity, the whole equation is complete. Vegapunk also says he will be erased like Ohara. Now, why was Ohara erased? Because they knew about the Void Century, because they knew about things they shouldn't. The world government does not want Vegapunk to create a World Wide Web. They don't want him to have electricity. That puts the power in the hands of the people. I think if anyone in the Blue Sea was gonna have electricity, it would be the world government. They would use it for their own purposes. In fact, maybe they do have electronic technology in the world government. Think about Lelucia. When Imu erased that country, he used 16 holy beams to eradicate it. Those look like and reminds me of the beams that Enel used in Skypiea to eradicate islands. So seeing how the Arc Maxim was powered by electricity and it had the world government logo on it, perhaps the world government already has electronic technology. And like Oda is too goated, bro. He foreshadowed all of this in Skypiea and Enel's cover story. Like just take a look at Enel. He's a person who calls himself God, he has 5 followers, and he tried to wipe out a winged race. That is the same thing Imu did. They think they're a god, they have 5 followers, they wiped out a winged race. It is my sincere belief that the ancient power source Vegapunk was talking about is electricity, and we're gonna see this come to truth and come to light with Enel running into Vegapunk. Thank you so much for watching the video. I have a few videos on screen that you might like. They're complete banger theories, concrete facts, and evidence. Don't forget to leave a like and comment on this video. Check one of these videos out. Let's keep the binge watching going. Have a nice day. Peace.